Hi, everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our CEDIA coverage. I'm joined for this second segment, I guess, by, we'll call it a segment. I think this is going to be longer than the first one, by Jason Griffin. Jason, how's it going, man?
It's going great, Seth. I'm excited to be sitting down with you. And for anybody tuning in who's not aware, we did do a kind of a part 1 and part 2 in our coverage of CEDIA this year. We felt like there was just so much to talk about that it kind of warranted having 2 different episodes. And so this is actually part 2 in our 2-part little, like you said, series here, or whatever you want to call it. And if you missed the first one, be sure to check out our website, HomeTech.fm, where you can hear the first part, because there's a lot of good stuff there. But really looking forward to doing this one as well. We've got a lot of ground to cover here, and a lot of really, I think, interesting stories that came out of Dallas this year. And really been looking forward to sitting down with you, Seth, and kind of chatting about them and getting your thoughts.
Yeah, there was a lot to digest, and I'm glad we had this kind of like second show, because there was a lot to think about over the last week. A lot more that came out. I mean, everybody was kind of this week talking about the Sonos rumor that didn't happen, that they were going to come out with an API, and Sonos never did it. So here we are, no API. So we can get into that a little bit later when we talk about Control 4, but I'm glad we have this second show. We're going to cover a number of topics and things we have outlined. We've got some more audio clips to play, and then we're going to do our traditional just burn at the end and try and cover everything else that came up. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, we know people are always pressed for time, and we want to try to keep this to a reasonable length, but we got a ton of ground to cover. So let's jump right into that end and just get started. And I think one of the first things that we wanted to touch on was just not a kind of on the lighter side, right? Was just getting out to CEDIA and kind of catching up with friends and colleagues, and the whole networking aspect of CEDIA. Honestly, one of my favorite things about going out there. I really enjoy it. It really gives me an opportunity to see people that maybe I interact with regularly online or what have you throughout the year, but just don't get the opportunity to kind of catch up with in person. And Richard Gunther, great friend of the show, has his podcast Home On, which if you're not familiar with it and you like our show, you should definitely check it out. And ran into him out on the show floor, and really just kind of enjoyed catching up with Richard. He comes at CEDIA from a different angle. I think it's great to see people like Richard out there. He doesn't work in the channel. He's not a professional integrator. It just, home technology happens to be a major passion of his, and so we wanted to kind of jump in and play a little sound clip from him. I think it sort of speaks to this kind of growing interest in CEDIA through different channels, and kind of ties into that whole convergence that we've been talking about with DIY and the CEDIA channel and all of that. So let's just jump into a quick a clip here where I caught up with Richard on the show floor.
All right, here with good friend of the show, Richard Gunther. Richard, it's good to see you on the show floor.
Good to see you, Jason.
Yeah, how you been?
I've been really well. I'm excited to be here at CEDIA again this year. This is my second year at the show.
Yeah, so I know we caught up with you last year in Denver, and you're here in Dallas this year. And we were talking earlier, and I love the fact that you come to the show. I love that there's interest in the CEDIA channel from outside of our little bubble. And I mean, what are generally kind of your thoughts about the show? What are you really here to focus on and see?
So my interest obviously is more in the direct-to-consumer space. And as we've discussed many times before, over the years there's been more and more overlap. I think that is so obvious this year, where we're seeing not only products here that are starting as direct-to-consumer that are now reaching out to embrace the installer community, Sonos aside, but perhaps on the other side,
dig in there, right?
perhaps on the other side, then you're also seeing companies that are traditionally targeting installers start to make overtures to the direct-to-consumer market. And probably the most obvious is the Savant remote that we've talked about before.
Yeah, that was, Savant was really one of the major stories coming out of CEDIA last year with their new app, and they kind of released a blockbuster announcement a couple days before this year's show with that new remote. And I think you're right. It really does kind of speak to this convergence that we're seeing between the DIY and the CEDIA channels. So definitely an interesting theme to watch. Has there been any particular products that kind of jump to the top of your mind as maybe interesting or surprising at this year's show?
Yeah, I think one of the things this is a negative actually. I think one of the things that surprises me is that I'm still seeing what I would kind of qualify as one-off whole home automation solutions here, whether for installers or for direct-to-consumer. You're seeing things that aren't really focusing on, oh yeah, we're integrating with all this stuff, or it's yet another Z-Wave controller, or whatever else. And I'm a little bit frustrated by that. I think I saw a system that was Wi-Fi based, and to use it, you actually had to install the panels or their Wi-Fi switches throughout your home. And I'm thinking, just put a Zigbee radio in the thing.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's always every booth you go to, there's always things you like and things that you just kind of scratch your head about and think maybe could have been done better. But that's why we're here at the show. I know a lot of the vendors I've spoken with have been really receptive to feedback, and hopefully you're providing some of that feedback to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. On the other side of that spectrum, we just mentioned the Savant remote. That is a beautiful, beautiful piece of ergonomics.
It is.
I am so impressed with their industrial design on it. The way the software works on it is just seamless. I think they've done a great job. They have an IR puck that is wireless.
Yeah.
So that means it doesn't, you don't have a wire straggling to get your IR blaster in. You could theoretically tape it to the inside of the door of the cabinet that holds your stuff and get complete coverage. So I think they've done a really good job there. I really look forward to seeing what they come out with. I'm a little bit trepidatious about it because while it can do some home control, right now their only incentive is to ensure that they're controlling their stuff, and they came out with products for that, but they don't really have any motivation to say integrate with any other hub or any other technology right now. So we'll have to see where that goes.
Yeah. The Pro remote is kind of the same remote with some different software. It's supposed to come out, I'm hearing, 60 days after this one, and I think there's going to be more opportunity for broader integration there, but then obviously you've got to go through a Savant dealer at that point, so it doesn't really help if you're in that kind of straight-to-consumer space. But interesting nonetheless. Richard, great to catch up with you. I know we've oftentimes plugged you on our show, and we've got a great relationship. I think you've got a great show as well. Tell our listeners a little bit about that and where they can find you.
Absolutely. I am at the Digital Media Zone, and the show that I host for home automation stuff is called Home On. We're on iTunes. We're also on Technology.fm, just like you guys are.
Awesome. You got it. Well, Richard, good to see you. Enjoy the rest of your show.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Well, it's always good to catch up with Richard. I'm bummed that I didn't get to go because getting to see him and Mike Wolf, who actually couldn't go either, because I think he's pretty busy with... I think we should mention his Smart Kitchen Summit that he's going to be doing. And I totally understand. He's running an entire conference himself. So I'm
kind of a big deal.
Yeah, kind of a huge deal. So if we'll put a link to that in the show note for sure. If you go check it out, if you're interested in smart cooking technology, Mike Wolf is the guy who's leading that charge, and he has a pretty good show going on. But getting back to Richard, it sounds like he's pretty happy with what he saw out there.
Yeah, he seemed to be having a good time at the show. We caught up, I don't know, I think about maybe midway through the show, and like I said, it's great to get Richard's take on it because he comes at it from a fresh perspective, and you and I and everybody else there who's a systems integrator by trade, we definitely have our prejudices and kind of our preconceived notions that we come into the show with. And so it's always great to kind of chat with Richard and see what he's thinking about what's going on. And I think, he was definitely excited to have a look at the Savant remote, which we talked about extensively last week. I don't want to spend much time on it this week because we got a lot of ground to cover, but the long and the short of it is that it's a DIY product, and Richard seemed to think that the design was pretty good on that, and was excited about the product, I think, generally speaking. And I think that that's probably an attitude that's consistent with most people who are in that kind of segment of the market, not professional integrators, and who have had a chance to see this thing. I mean, it is a beautiful remote. And the other thing that he kind of touched on there that I always think is interesting is his frustration with kind of lockdown systems. And that's a big thing that we see in the DIY channel, and still one of the key differentiators between a DIY type product and a professionally installed product is that ability to really kind of unify everything into a single app and kind of a single point of control.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of lockdown systems, you want to get into talking about Crestron?
Yeah, we want to touch on here again. One of the main things that we focused on last week and intentionally was the big players. You've got the the Crestrons and the Control 4s and the Savants. And actually, we're going to touch on Lutron a little bit here in this segment of the show as well. And, Crestron is an interesting company. We talked about it last week in terms of their sort of positioning right now and their strategic kind of messaging to integrators that I perceived at the show was really all about, we are custom. We are the go-to home automation brand for professional integrators. And it seemed to me to be a response to what they're seeing happen in other segments of the market, like Savant with the DIY remote. And so it was interesting to kind of spend some time at the Crestron booth. I did a good 1 hour walkthrough with them and our Crestron rep. And, they've definitely got some interesting things going on. Crestron is obviously a gigantic company. They are the 800-pound gorilla in our industry. And so it's always, when you go out to CEDIA, I mean, it's almost always one of the biggest booths, and it's definitely one that you got to stop by and pay some attention to.
Yeah, I was watching some of the videos that were coming out of CEDIA and just getting really angry at Crestron because all the stuff that is just kind of built into the product, the backflips that I have to do to get video from point A to point B, they just have it. It's a one gang box, and oh my gosh, I would just close the video, walk away, just jealous rage. So yeah. One of their main key things this year was they were touting that they were going to add 300 new Ping integrations, which Ping they ran last year. We covered this a little bit in our pre-CEDIA show, but they announced kind of what that was on the show floor and just kind of clarified. They're bringing in all shading, lighting, and sensors from the Crestron line, both wired and wireless, which is a pretty, substantial amount of product. And OnVIF, they're supporting OnVIF cameras, which is a pseudo standard when it comes to security cameras. It kind of works sometimes. It kind of doesn't work most of the times. But when it does work, it works great. And if you're using Crestron cameras, I'm sure it works fine. I don't know if they sell cameras, but I'm assuming they do. If you have an OnVIF camera, the idea is that it will work kind of the same way as other OnVIF cameras. So it's kind of, believe it or not, in the security industry, there has been zero standards, and this is kind of one of them that's coming out of it. Yeah. So OnVIF is huge, and hopefully it will work a little bit better in the future and going forward. Yeah.
Time will tell, right? I know that you and I had kind of briefly touched base off air on this this sort of corner shading bracket. I forget what they're calling it exactly, but it's this really neat product for anybody who's ever sold or designed automated shades. And a lot of times when you get into a situation where you've got two automated shades meeting in a corner, it could be a slight angle or what have you. There are always ways to design around that, of course, and you can make it happen. But this little shade corner bracket they had, I thought was really neat. I mean, kind of ironic that you're at this giant technology company and they've got 100 products on display and all these neat things and bells and whistles that you can look at. And one of the things that really just caught my eye and I thought was so cool was this shading bracket, because it's a little bit hard to describe. Maybe we'll have to find a picture or a video or something that we can include in the show notes, but it just a very a flexible solution where it actually has the ability. You buy the bracket and you've got the ability to position it however you want it, depending on the angle that you have to work with. And it gives you just a lot of flexibility to install in those sort of situations, which anybody who's worked with automated window treatments knows that can be kind of one of the trickier things that we deal with.
Yeah, that's one of those other things that I just slam my laptop shut when I saw it, because cool, yeah. Oh man, that is such a pain point for automated shades and motorized shades in general, and for them to come out with something like that, it's just okay, that's well engineered. And then I kind of got some feedback. Actually, Richard saw it as well, and I posted if this works as well as it looks, and he said it worked well. So it looks like it's of course Crestron, it's designed and engineered properly. It is one of those things that if you do automated shades, you're going to need, and I'm just totally jealous that Crestron has it. Unfortunately, not a Crestron dealer, so I won't be selling Crestron shades. But yeah, little things like that go a long way when it comes down to doing custom installs.
Yeah, no, most definitely. One of the other, interesting themes you touched on ping earlier, and when you talk about the big control system companies and you compare and you contrast their different strategies, Crestron is now and has always really been the company that's all about custom and enabling the programmer to really get in there and have that blank canvas approach where you can go in there and just go as wild as you want to or keep it as simple as you want to. And there are definite pros and cons to that approach, in my opinion. And we've talked about that, at length on the show as far as some of the trade-offs and difficulty of programming versus, having that ability to accommodate virtually whatever a client could possibly request. And that can be sort of a difficult thing to implement. And it definitely has its drawbacks. And one of the things I saw at the booth that they were talking about I thought was interesting was home elements. I won't spend a ton of time on it because it's a little bit nuanced and probably something that's really very interesting to the Crestron programmers who may be listening. But I think the general idea speaks to kind of the theme that we've touched on a lot in the industry, which is trying to straddle that line between, ease of implementation and the ability to customize. And that's really what Home Elements was all about. It's kind of I don't know if framework is the appropriate word for it, but the idea is that it's kind of a common set of functions, things like sleep timers, all on, all off, these general functions that you're probably going to want to put into any Crestron system you deploy. And it was also a set of graphics, kind of a tool set to make it easier to do Crestron programming in general. So it kind of gives you a little bit of that aspect of just quick and easy programming. Without sort of compromising the architecture of being able to just kind of go in there and do the full-on custom system. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exclusive to Crestron problem to have, but yeah, I don't think most people understand how low level you can get on Crestron, and I'm not sure if people listening to the show what their background is, but you are writing code to generate signal flow and you were writing actual programming language code. It's not like setting up a Wink egg tray or a SmartThing system.
Not all. Quite.
No. So what this does is it like you said, I think a toolkit or a framework is probably the most appropriate thing for this. And this is exactly what other developers have in their industries. Like I'm thinking of specifically with Apple and iOS. I mean, we have frameworks built into iOS, like HomeKit. That's a framework right there. That is a group of functions that you can use to integrate your app with other home related products. So I think this is really cool for Crestron dealers. And if they are going to maintain this and keep it up to date, it sounded like they were. This is a great thing for Crestron programmers because it gives them the ability to quickly get in there. Do something super custom with, enough effort, but a minimal effort compared to writing this from scratch every single time or relying on, frameworks that you made. And, as a dealer, I mean, I can tell you if I'm programming, I don't have much time to test all the edge cases. And it would be great if a company, as big as Crestron could test all those edge cases and flush all the bugs out for me. And I'll just integrate with their framework.
Yeah, definitely. Probably for me, the other, kind of biggest thing that I looked at when I went there to the Crestron booth was looking at the DM system. And we don't do a ton of DM here in our market, not much really at all. I have a lot of experience with DM working out in the Los Angeles market, doing really large residential installs. We did a fair amount of DM. It is a product line that's relevant in the residential category. It's generally used, I think, more often in, safe to say, in the commercial side of the business. But it really is a product that I would say has driven innovation in the video distribution category. And so I was curious to see what they were doing with DM, particularly as it pertains to this new landscape that we all have to navigate of HDCP 2.2 and 4K video and all of these things that integrators are really kind of having to think about almost every day now as we're designing systems. And actually, I had the chance swinging by their booth to speak with Rob Carter, who heavily involved in the DM project, and that's kind of his baby there, and really enjoyed speaking with him and getting his take on what DM is doing and how it relates to the HDCP 2.2 thing we talked about specifically. So let's jump into that sound clip, and then we'll come back in and kind of wrap up Crestron here.
I've got Rob Carter here, product manager for the DM line at Crestron. Rob, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Awesome. You having a good show?
Yeah, it's going great. We're getting a lot of good traffic.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of activity here at the booth and a lot to show this year. I wanted to speak with you specifically, obviously, with your background in DM and your involvement in that. Big thing for our listeners right now that we're talking about a lot is HDCP 2.2.
Absolutely.
Got that coming down the pipeline. Yeah.
A lot of confusion about HDCP 2.2, so happy to clear any of that up.
Yeah, just go ahead and give our listeners kind of your overview on it, what's coming and what you guys are doing to kind of help them navigate the landscape.
Sure. Well, I mean, first off, just to understand HDCP 2, brief background. For everybody who's familiar with HDCP, it's the encryption technology that's required usually by the content providers to protect content, make sure it's not getting stolen. And there's an upgrade to HDCP called HDCP 2. It ups the level of encryption, and the content providers, especially Hollywood, have signed on and said that they're really going to require that sources require HDCP 2 for their 4K Hollywood content. As a result, once the source decides that it needs to use HDCP 2, every step in the chain needs to support HDCP 2. And so that's the important thing to realize. Everything from the source to every piece of distribution equipment that you've got, your AVR and your TVs.
And this is a hardware issue, right? I mean, if you've got old HDMI equipment that does not, it's not up to spec, it's not a software update that's going to come down. This is where you've got a hardware issue.
That's right. The new encryption is just so different from the old style that it winds up forcing a hardware upgrade.
So what does Crestron have going on to kind of help people navigate this landscape?
Well, what we have is our full end-to-end solution. We've got our input cards, HDMI input, HD-Base-T, and HD-Base-T output cards that support HDCP 2 coming this December. And with those three pieces, that'll finally allow us to have a full HDCP 2 solution from end to end. All of our transmitters, all of our receivers already support HDCP 2, as do some of the other cards for HDMI, and we'll have you covered from end to end.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate a few minutes of your time and enjoy the rest of your show.
All right, thanks.
All right, thanks, Rob.
Yep.
So this is another one of those things that I had to walk away from, because DM is just, it's an amazing distribution system, and again, exclusive to Crestron. It's big in residential, even bigger in commercial, and it just works. I mean, it's a really cool system.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a very powerful system. They really were kind of driving innovation in this category for a very long time. I do think that in a lot of residential applications, it can be overkill, is my opinion. And the thing is, it's not primarily that that doesn't. That's not to say anything bad about DM, is what I'm trying to say, because it's a very impressive video distribution system. Ton of horsepower there, ton of flexibility. Really known for its reliability and the engineering quality behind it. And I know for a fact, just speaking with my Crestron rep and just kind of knowing the industry, that it is, at this point, it is like the de facto video distribution system for universities all over the country, big commercial installations. So very quality product, robust product. It was interesting just to kind of get Rob's take on DM and HDCP 2.2, and it's a topic that we've talked about a lot on the show. So I was happy to be able to kind of chat with Crestron about that and just kind of see what they had going on.
Yeah, very cool. So let's jump into Control 4.
Let's do it, Seth. I'm going to let you kind of lead out. I know you're a big Control 4 guy. We talked about it last week. I had a good long sit down with Martin Plain and the CEO, and we were kind of there again on the business front. I was there and under my capacity as a Harrison Home Systems business development guy, and not so much on the home tech beat, but really was interested to hear what he had to say, but unfortunately didn't get a lot of time to actually explore the booth and really see the specific products and get the run through. So I actually am curious to hear what you think, because I think you're probably at this point a little more well versed on what they were showing this year than I am.
Yeah, the good thing about the Control 4 is they have a dealer party every year, and this time they did a live stream. I think I've done it in the past, but this time they did a live stream of kind of like a keynote speech, I guess is the closest I can relate it to. And they introduced OS 2.8, which is their latest version of software update. Of course, you can update just about every single controller they make to run 2.8. currently. I have to go. I made this cool little chart. I'll put a link to it in the show note that tells you exactly which controllers it runs on. But I mean, Control 4 has done a great job of supporting legacy controllers, for years and years and years past when they probably should be supported. But that's always a good thing.
That's a separate conversation, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this year, 2.8 brought a couple of really cool things in. First off, they added some of the major music services in, and Pandora is probably the biggest one stateside. They added in Deezer and Tidal. I know Deezer is bigger overseas. I really haven't heard of Tidal. I mean, I've heard it mentioned, but I don't know too much about it. But very exciting to see them add those natively on the controller. This is kind of like Sonos's problem now. Like if a Control 4 dealer doesn't need Sonos now to get this, Pandora into the house. Right now we've got Pandora, TuneIn, Rhapsody, what is it? Deezer and Tidal. I can just launch those directly off the controller, and I don't have to worry about spending another $300 or $400 on a Sonos player. No brainer, it's built right into the system.
Sorry to interrupt you. I did think that was interesting because for a long time, Control 4 was really kind of the only of the big home automation companies. Again, the big three that we always talk about. They were really the only one that had that Sonos integration, and they had acquired Extra Vegetables, which was kind of how that integration was done before. And so I always kind of saw that partnership and thought it was interesting. And so to hear that they had launched their own native integration, I can't say I was surprised to see that. I mean, it makes business sense, but just thought that aspect of the story was interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, even conversations I've had on the floor with Sonos in previous years, I've asked them like, hey, when are you guys coming out with an API? And they say, oh, we're happy with the company line that we've always said. And I said, well, Control 4 have this great integration, and they kind of poo-pooed it. They say, that's not what we want. We want to control it. And at the time it was Extra Vegetables. We're not really happy with that because it's Extra Vegetables. It's one guy doing it, or a small team doing it. And if they go away, then the whole integration goes away. What happens? Well, now Control 4 is doing it. They own Extra Vegetables, and a year later they introduce native streaming services. So I think Sonos is going to be in for a world of hurt for all the Control 4 dealers that don't need to spec their product anymore to get Pandora into the house.
I'd be curious. I get your point, but I obviously not knowing the numbers, I'd be curious to know what kind of market share that represents to Sonos. Maybe it's significant, maybe it's not. Who knows? But I do think it, like I said, is an interesting aspect to the story, and maybe something that we're going to increasingly see integration companies do, because really, why not, right? I mean, there's really no compelling business case for Control 4 to be reliant on Sonos to have streaming services as part of the customer experience. If they can provide that in-house, like you said, it's a no-brainer.
Right, and I would say probably 95 to 99% of my customers are Pandora users, and they've never heard of anything else. We skew old here, so Pandora's been around for a long time, and everybody knows
Florida.
it. Yeah. But, everybody has it on their phone, and when I say I can take that music and put it right onto your system, they're ecstatic, and this makes that process one step easier for integration, which is great. I think that's probably the second biggest news that came out of the show, and I'll get to the third, which is a hidden feature.
I like the order that we're going in here.
Yeah. Let's do the third, and then we'll get to the first. So, really, they came out with a new door station, which was surprising because they normally don't launch equipment at CEDIA, and this time they came out with a door station. It was really cool because the old door station was very limited in what it could do. This one, you can actually pull it up as a camera and see it almost as a security camera on your Control 4 interface, which is really nice because beforehand you had to initiate it, basically an intercom call. I think it's based on those SIP protocols, so you could actually call the door station. I think you can call other phones, and Control 4's kind of been big on that. I actually haven't touched very much of that, so I don't know much about it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Me neither.
Yeah, it's one of those standard things that people who do voice over IP systems are like, oh yeah, that's easy. And
I know there's somebody listening right now who's like, really, you don't know about that? But yeah, just something I haven't touched much. Doesn't sound like you have either.
Yeah. Reach out to us on Twitter, man.
Yeah,
Love to know more about it.
Yeah, educate me seriously.
Yeah, they as part of the software update, they updated some of the UIs. One of the major ones was the security UI. There were a couple of other changes that were made, but the major one they were showing off was the security. It looks pretty much just like the thermostat UI, and they announced some integrations with more in-depth integrations, I guess I should say, with some of the major security vendors. So DSC, I think Honeywell, Adimco, a couple of others that I can't think off the top of my head. But
gotcha.
Very, very, it's always good to integrate with more stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else on Control 4?
Well, the number one thing that I'm in love with.
Okay, we haven't got to the number one yet. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so the number one thing that I am in love with is a feature that they introduced and kind of just brushed over inside of the keynote, which was called remote backups. So what Control 4 is doing now is when an integrator finishes programming your system, they can hit save, and when they hit save, they can publish your project out to Control 4 servers. And there it gets saved and back up. And as dealers, we can back up like a number of projects. So I think it's up to like 10 or something like that. So if somebody goes out to the project, makes a quick change, and then say the controller dies, you get a new controller in real quick, and now you've got to find who was the last person out here, and they made a quick change, and did they save it on their computer?
Yeah, and the whole revision management and
all gone.
Yeah.
Just download it off the cloud. Put it onto the controller itself. As a dealer, you can actually, there's a little agent, what they call an agent. You can actually schedule that to be done too. So if the homeowner makes changes to like their lighting control scenes and that kind of thing, that gets backed up too. So you can actually have a weekly or monthly or whatever backup nightly if you wanted to. You could back it up every night. Very cool. Take a snapshot of the customer's home, which I think is absolutely amazing. It's been a long time coming, and as far as looking further down the road, I think this is probably going to be. I think this feature is the tip of an iceberg for Control 4 on their roadmap. Yeah. Because there are not very many pro AV systems that have this ability, right? Like. You program a URC remote, you better have that remote file, or you're going to have to download it off the remote. The remote gets dropped in the swimming pool, you better have that file backed up, or you're going to be out there for a couple hours. Yep. All the other stuff that comes along with having the configurations stored out onto the cloud, and all the other stuff that's kind of going on under the hood with Control 4, this is the space to watch with these guys, because I think they can add on features so quickly and so easily. That are based around the technology that they're using. We're going to see some major innovations over the next 12 months out of them.
Very interesting.
From coming from this. So yeah, this is huge. Cool. And I don't think dealers or most people know how huge it is.
Yeah, well, it sounds like they kind of glossed over it in the presentation, and glad you picked up on that. And I do think it's interesting. I mean, I know we've heard talk from Savant about the cloud infrastructure that they've been working on, and it clearly seems to be the sign of things to come, and I'm glad to get your take on that. And I think that it looked like Control 4 had some interesting things going on this year. And again, their booth was definitely busy. Saw quite a few people there, and they are just one of the mainstays of the CEDIA channel. They are obviously a very big company, been around for a while and not going anywhere. And it's always interesting to watch what they have going on at the show. I think. Last week we kind of used the term for the first time, the big three, and I've used it a couple times this week as well, referring to Control 4, Savant, and Crestron. But really, it almost feels in a way like we're going to have to start calling it the big four, right? We've got Lutron that we want to talk about here. And Lutron, unfortunately, I did not get a soundbite from Lutron this year, which was one of the kind of the top targets I had on my list, and it just didn't work out in all the craziness of the show. But I definitely did spend a good deal of time at the Lutron booth. We at Harrison Home Systems are huge fans of Lutron. We feel like it's one of our most important lines that we carry, and we really have a great time with a lot of great people that work there, and we really enjoy it. And so going by the Lutron booth and kind of seeing what they had going on this year, was really interesting. One of the big things that I saw that we're pretty heavily involved in here in the Denver market is selling automated shades. It's a category I think I've alluded to on the show before that I really enjoy selling. Our clients seem to get a ton of value out of it. They really, you put it in and they see it and they just fall in love with it, or they come into the showroom and see it or whatever it is. And therefore, it's a category that I really enjoy selling. And so always curious to see what Lutron has going on that front. And to me, one of the big stories that came out of CEDIA this year was their new Lutron, the Triathlon shade. And Triathlon, if you're not familiar with it, is their battery operated line of automated shades. And, a lot of people hear battery operated and they kind of cringe a little bit and they just envision themselves up there changing batteries every, 3 or 4 months. It's not like that anymore. There's been major advances in battery operated shades. Depending on the size and fabric and the usage, it can vary quite a bit. But I mean, you're talking anywhere from like a 3-year battery life all the way up to, on some of the smaller shades, with a technology that they're selling now called battery boost, which essentially is a fancy way of saying that, doubles the amount of batteries that you put in there. You're talking 3 to like up to 7 to 8 years of battery life if you're doing 2 ups and 2 downs a day. And so that's pretty impressive. And what they unveiled this year was a bigger size. So they were limited before, I believe, to 10 foot by 10 foot. What they were showing this year was a 12 foot by 12 foot battery operated roller shade, which I thought was very impressive.
Yeah, the display of that was pretty cool, right? It was just this massive gray shade they had there.
Awesome.
I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, there are other players in this shading industry that have been doing that for a little bit longer, but having Lutron, like you said, having this SKU basically from a Lutron makes life so much easier because you can cover those larger windows with it.
Yeah, and like you alluded to, I mean, the whole idea of automated shades and motorized shades is not exclusive to Lutron by any stretch, and battery-operated shades have been around for a while, but the cool thing is just the advances in general that are happening and how that allows us to open up the category to a whole new, dimension of the market in terms of being able to go in and just very easily retrofit automated shades into a building where there's no wire in place. And, tell clients that, hey, you don't have to worry about the whole battery thing because really you're going to get like 3, 4, 5 years of life out of your batteries. So it's not a major obstacle anymore to selling the technology. And I just think those advances were really interesting on the kind of the different end of the market in terms of control, Seth. I know there was something that you had kind of caught wind of from afar, and definitely something that I was taking a look at the booth, and that's this new Lutron Connect Bridge, I believe is what they're calling it, and sort of a cloud API. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
I think it's pretty huge. Again, here's the second company that we're going to talk about that has moved their product into the cloud. I think Lutron's been doing this for a while. You could always integrate the Radio Raw product and the CEDIA product in with things like alarm.com, but there's been no like public cloud infrastructure or API, and it looks like they're heading that way. I mean, I didn't get the feeling that this was like officially announced, or maybe they were just showing off like, hey, this is where we're headed. But they were also, I mean, you had a note in here about them including HomeKit compatibility with Radio Raw 2. I mean, you may know a little bit more about this. I ran across this and said, hey, these guys are doing the right thing too. We should probably talk about this.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely something that they were showing at the show, and they had what they're calling the Lutron Connect Bridge. And so with the kind of the story I got about it is that with the CEDIA line, you've got the Smart Bridge and the Smart Bridge Pro, and that line has always really been very app-centric. It was developed from the ground up for kind of this ease of integration and I don't want to call it the do-it-yourself because it's not a do-it-yourself product. We've talked about that before, but it has that sort of lower end of the market, lower to middle end of the market in mind, and that was the whole architecture was built around that idea. And to that end, you have the ability to do things like integrate with HomeKit and, just sort of, again, remote control, geofencing, things like that. And really what the Connect Bridge is all about is bringing some of that same functionality to lines that didn't have it before. So it's a very small little white box, and what it's got inside of it is, amongst other things, obviously, is the HomeKit silicone. So you've got the ability now to take like a Radio Raw 2 system and give it a lot of that same HomeKit integration is there. They mentioned specifically to me, which I thought was interesting, is now the ability from that Lutron app is to control like a Nest thermostat. So clearly they're looking at things like works with Nest in addition to HomeKit. And really it's sort of this, it represents, again, getting back to that theme that we've been hitting on so heavily this year and like we did last year, is this convergence, right, of kind of DIY and empowering the end user into the CEDIA channel. And the Lutron Connect Bridge, I thought, was one of the big stories to come out of the Lutron booth that I felt like not as many people were talking about as they should have. And I was over there kind of taking a look at it. I think I snapped a photo of the sign kind of showing the features. And to me, I thought it was fascinating. And it's something I'm still, to be honest, trying to wrap my brain around a little bit. But, you know, the angle and the kind of the takeaway that I got is what I just said. Again, it's about bringing some of those more integration-friendly features like the Caseta has with things like HomeKit and Nest into their other lines. So I thought that was a very interesting approach by Lutron.
Yeah, no, okay, so now that you said Connect Bridge, I was able to dig up a press release story on this thing, and I didn't know, I thought they were just offering a cloud API, but it's actually a little, and what they're saying, it's going to cost $300 shipping next year, but this is basically a bridge to bring these legacy systems. Mm-hmm. I say legacy because they've been around for more than 1 year.
Right.
The legacy systems like Radio Raw 2 or HomeWorks QS, and I mean these are major systems in people's homes. Like Radio Raw 2, you're probably looking at a few $1,000s in lighting. QS, you're probably looking at tens of thousands of dollars for that system. And the fact that you can't use it with HomeKit or on your Apple Watch, but the little, a few $100 Lutron Casetas product, that's no problem. That always bugged me.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
It bugs you as an integrator. Think about you as a client who just spent, $30,000 on a QS system. So yeah, totally.
So this is brilliant. And good for Lutron for doing this. I was told last year, I guess earlier this year, that they wouldn't be doing this, but because they were worried about kind of hurting their sales across the line. But this makes more sense. Just put a bridge in. You get the bigger, fancier homes can have HomeKit and Apple Watch integration with the Lutron app. And everybody's happy. This is great. Good news.
Very, very interesting product, and I do feel like one that kind of flew under the radar at CEDIA.
For sure.
I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it, and to me, it was the triathlon 12x12. For me, as a salesman in this industry, was huge, but probably the biggest thing that I saw from sort of a macro level, industry-wise, was this Connect Bridge. I thought it was a really interesting approach by Lutron. Nothing new. We talked about Lutron so much on the show, and kind of how they're sort of navigating this market where you've got to have different offerings for different segments. And I think this is just another good example of that.
Yep. So we may have to start talking now about the big five here, because we've got another company that I think you said you were using, and I think every integrator I talk to these days uses, and that's Snap AV.
They're everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah, all over. Did you see just yesterday or the day before that they bought Sunbright TV?
Yes, I did. I did see that.
Crazy.
Very interesting.
Yeah. That Sunbright, if anybody doesn't know, that's the insanely expensive outdoor TVs that 6 or 7 grand for 42-inch outdoor TV. But guess what? You can pressure wash the thing and it doesn't die. So yeah, we require those things. If you're living on the water, salt water down here, it's required. I won't even install a regular TV on the water.
Won't even put it on the bid. Yeah, exactly.
Nope. So a couple of things they did real quick is they had some new products, especially in the networking realm. They had a new router that has VPN support coming out for their dealers, and new access points. But I think the biggest thing that they announced was this thing that we've kind of made fun of in the past, the naming of it, but it's called Oversee, and it's spelled OVRC. that is their cloud monitoring product.
Yep.
And they are starting to embed that in every single product that they make in some form or fashion. It started out with power products, so you could remotely reboot your equipment, and now they're moving it into everything else, which is awesome.
Yeah. Oversee is a great product, and it always has been. I mean, just in terms even of the ability, like the idea of a network connected power conditioner or battery backup that you can log into over the internet and reboot different outlets. That's not new. There's a lot of different companies doing that. What I feel like Snap AV and Oversee did very well and did better than anybody else that I know of was make that very accessible, like in the form of a really easy to use app, not a web interface, not a website I've got to go to and enter my credentials every single time. As little as that sounds, just, apps are easier to use for a quick thing like this. Me as an integrator, typically when I'm getting the call that something's not working at a client's house, it's like, Friday night at like 7:00 and I'm sitting down to dinner with my wife or whatever it is, it's never an ideal time. And the quicker and the easier that you can make it to manage those situations, every second counts, really, in my opinion. And that's what Oversee did very well from the start. What's cool about it is that, initially it was a product that was really about power conditioners and the ability to very easily remotely reboot outlets from their app. I talked to Aaron Osterbahn of Oversee with Snap and got his overview. We're going to jump into the soundbite here in just a second, but like you alluded to, Seth, it's really now expanding into a more of a full, I want to say, platform really for everything under the Snap AV umbrella. So they've got it integrated into their network hardware. They've got it integrated into their amplifiers. There's a lot of different things that we talked about. And let's jump into that soundbite. Let people kind of get Aaron's take on it. I thought it was an interesting conversation. Then we'll come back and kind of wrap that up.
I'm here with Aaron Osterbahn. He is a product manager of Oversee for Snap AV. Aaron, how are you?
Hey, doing great today. Glad to be here.
Yeah, you enjoying the show?
It's always fun, man. We got a backpack booth today. People wall to wall. We love it.
Yeah, well, we love what you got going on here. We're Snap AV dealers in my business, and at HomeTech we talk about you guys a lot, and really think you guys are doing great things. So tell us about Oversee. What are you guys showing that's new this year? It's an impressive product. I think a lot of our listeners are familiar with it, but give us the kind of the overview of what's new.
Yeah, so Oversee's really been synonymous with Wattbox for quite a while. You buy Wattbox product from us. It's a power conditioner. Oversee's a platform that allows remote management of that product. Able to power cycle your device remotely, really solve problems on devices that require power failures and power resets. What we've done this year, and we've been working on it for the past year, is all of Snap AV's categories are going to be enabled through this platform. So it's not just power conditioners. We're talking networking gear. We're talking surveillance, audio. We've got some of our third-party associates that are coming online with products too. You're going to see a lot from Snap AV all tied into this product for remote management.
Yeah, and we just got done doing a little demo, and it's impressive. You guys got a lot of horsepower in there, and it's a product that we're definitely excited about. It speaks to a trend that I see in the industry and that I talk about all the time. One of my kind of battle cries, so to speak, is that we as integrators really need to be embracing tools that allow us to do remote system management. Part of that puzzle's recurring monthly revenue. I know you guys are doing a free product right now, but it's a great tool set, and it really does allow us as integrators to provide our clients with a better experience and be more efficient with our service. So give me your thoughts on that and kind of the adapt, our industry sort of adapting to these new business practices and where you guys fit into that puzzle.
Yeah, where we're really seeing the industry, and this has started happening a long time ago, and it's definitely for sure a thing today, is AV and IT as industries have collided. They are together. You need to be an IT guy as well to be an AV guy, and we're trying to bring those two together with this Oversee platform. We're making setup simpler, the networking setup with all of our Rackness products, as well as bringing all the AV products in there like our amplifiers too. We're seeing guys use it really in two main ways. One, it's solving truck roll situations. Instead of having to drive out to a location to change a router configuration or to reboot an Apple TV, you're able to do that remotely. We've got guys who are even going it a step further. They're being able to pitch recurring monthly revenue plans, $9.99 a month, $14.99 a month, being able to show, hey, I can do this stuff for you remotely, Mr. Customer. I don't need to come out to your house. I can do it remotely if you pay me a monthly service charge. So we're seeing guys who are really stepping it up there.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate a couple minutes of your time. I think everything looks great, so keep up the good work.
Thanks, Jason.
All right,
Pleasure.
enjoy the show.
See ya.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that comes from that is the ease of setup. I've set up a couple of overseas products, the Wattbox specifically. Super easy to set up and deploy. I think I've told this story before. I've got a customer that was having problems with some of his cameras. It's actually with the router that he had, or something was going on. He's out of town. He's out of the country actually most of the time. He lives in Germany. I'm able to reboot his entire system anytime he tells me it goes down, and proactively take care of the problem before something happens, which he loves. He absolutely loves that. So it's been great. This type of product has been great for just that, and now we get it on networking, we get it on audio and their surveillance cameras. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's a great product. One of the coolest things that he showed me that's still very much like early on, and he wasn't willing to commit to like a release date or even give me kind of a general timeline on it beyond like maybe next year at CEDIA. We'll be showing this as kind of shipping. The working title, at least, was AMIA, and that's AMIYA is how they were spelling it. And he did, give me permission to kind of talk about it. They were showing it on the floor, so it's not anything that's like a secret, but it's just very early on. And without getting like too into detail, the concept is pretty simple. You've got a platform like Oversee, where I, as an integrator, get a phone call from my client and they say, hey, I'm trying to watch a movie on my Apple TV in the family room and it's not working. Can you help me out? And then I go into my Oversee app and I reboot the Apple TV or the AV receiver, whatever it is, and hopefully that fixes it. What AMIA does is it's actually a client-facing app that kind of ties into in some fashion into the Oversee platform. And you as an integrator this is really cool. You as an integrator can go in to the back end of AMIA and you can configure what that client is going to see. So the client will have a screen that says like family room on it. And then you can give them actions that just say, reboot Apple TV, reboot AV receiver, whatever it is. And you can configure all that. And whatever happens behind that action, when they push that on the AMIA app, is all configurable by you. So anything that you as an integrator could do in Oversee, you can basically write like a script and give your client a button that will do that, which I thought was awesome, like a brilliant idea. And you can give your client the ability to just do those common things like, hey, this has happened a couple times now. I'm just going to give you a button on your AMIA app to where if it happens again, just hit that. That should fix it. And then if not, you give me a call. And I just thought that was a very smart idea. They're putting some ability in there to almost like white label it sort of and put your company logo on it so it's branded like your company when the client opens it up. He also showed the ability to like through that app to submit a trouble ticket so the client can go in through that app and fill out a form that describes what's going on, and then that'll send it to you. I thought it was really one of the coolest things that I saw at the show. I thought it was really a smart thing to do. They're very early on in it again, so it's not something that we're going to see anytime soon, but I just thought it was really cool.
That sounds amazing. I'm sitting here thinking about this, like if this gets any better, if we have, there are platforms, our platforms advancing to the point where we are doing this proactive maintenance on our systems. I have the new slogan for my next AV company or whatever, or just change this company's slogan. It's going to say, so-and-so AV, don't call us, we'll call you.
I like it.
Yeah. This is great, man. I'm excited about all this stuff. It sounds like these guys are taking a swipe, right at Ihiji, which has been kind of the industry standard way of monitoring the systems. But it also sounds like Ihiji is saying, well, we've got a solution for that, lost revenue too. And they announced what's called a service manager or something like that.
Yeah.
At the show. It sounded like a really cool product. I know we've been trying for a little while to get Ihiji guys on the show, and I think they're going to come on in the future to talk about this product specifically. But I thought it was really cool because all of this works great for an integrator to do. Like all this is good stuff. This is what we should be doing. But a lot of the times we don't charge money for it, and we should.
Right.
It's a service thing, and if we can keep our customers happy before there are problems, I mean that's worth something. Is it worth $5 a month, $9 a month,
$30 a month? Yeah, that's what we're all trying to figure out. Exactly.
Yeah, but iHeeji has made this software that has, I guess it sounded like it was based around that thinking, and it basically keeps up with all your service contracts and all of your your things that you're doing for your clients.
Yeah, so they've always had the piece that, that was what they were founded on, was that the software, the back end, and the web interface to keep an eye on your client systems, and on the technical side, go in and do reboots, and they have integrations with a lot of different products. So through the iHeeji interface, you go into the web interface and you can configure your client system, and they've got integrations with things like Control4 processors, for instance. So you can actually go into iHeeji and say, hey, I've got an HC800, it's sitting on the network at this IP address, keep an eye on it for me. And they've actually gone in and done that integration, so they know what to look for on the network specifically to monitor that piece, and they can send you alerts, and you can do reboots. Things that they don't have tight integrations with, you still have some ability to monitor. So if it's a product that they're not, fully integrated with, you're at least able to say, hey, I got an AV receiver sitting at this IP address, like at least tell me if it falls offline or whatever. And so it gives you kind of that centralized interface. Very smart, very cool product. I've used it in the past. We're evaluating it right now in our current business and thinking about possibly implementing it. And so they've had that for a while. The new piece that they had that they're showing is this. It's it gives you more of the ability to administer those contracts. It's really iHeeji's battle cry, and one of the things that they really try to help integrators with is, like you said, let's get paid for this. Let's figure out how to switch into that managed services model and provide the best experience that we possibly can to our customers, and in turn, our customers can pay like a monthly recurring fee for us to keep a proactive eye on their electronics and really make sure that when it needs to work, it's working, and they don't have to call us. We're on top of it. If we know of a problem before they do.
Don't call us, we'll call you.
Exactly. I like that. I really do. iHeeji may want to steal that from you, Seth. I'm not sure.
Yeah, right. But it's free. It's out there.
But anyways, this new piece that they're showing is really about the administrative side of that. So there's a lot of contract administration and just pieces that go into being able to have that healthy RMR type of business. You've got to keep track of it all somewhere. You've got to have a place to kind of log the history of these issues and be able to go back and see what was wrong and, kind of connect all these dots. And that's really what this new piece was about. And so I thought it was interesting. We're going to try to get them on the show here very soon to talk more about that. I think we really should. I think they're a cool company, and they seem like a lot of good guys over there really trying to do the right thing for our industry, in my opinion. And so was happy to stop by and kind of check them out as well.
Yeah, the technical side we've got. Like now we need help on the business side, and this is one of those tools to get the job done.
Yeah. So that kind of wraps up in my mind sort of that aspect of the show where I was there looking at some software tools and some sort of the business side and helping us become better at running the business of systems integration. There was one sound, we've talked extensively about it this week and last week as well. And the DIY convergence, again, we're kind of hammering on that because it is a big theme. And there was one more kind of touch point here that we wanted to make on that. And it was a product that I saw called Umi. And they had a small booth in the Z-Wave area at the show this year. And they're another, startup in the smart home space. And we've seen a ton of these. We've seen a lot of smart home products on Kickstarter and things like this. What makes Umi really unique is the fact that two facts really in my mind. They are offering AV control as part of their platform. So you have the ability as an Umi customer to control your media center, your TV, your cable box, which is uncommon in that sort of startup space. And also they made the decision to manufacture their own touch panel with hard buttons on the side. And I thought both of those were interesting aspects of the story. So I stopped by their booth and had a quick chat with Colin Marshall. And let's jump into that right now.
All right, I'm joined here by Colin Marshall. He's the Vice President of UMI. Colin, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks
All right,
for stopping
you having
by.
a good time in the show?
Yeah, it's a great show.
Awesome.
We've had a lot of interest here, so we're pretty excited about UMI.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know, it's a big theme on the show that we talk about all the time is kind of the growth in the DIY kind of straight to consumer end of the market,
Sure.
and how it's converging with the CEDIA channel. And we think it's a good thing,
Yep.
And we enjoy kind of keeping an eye on that when we come to the show. And your product, I think, is a great example of that, where that convergence is happening. And I think you guys are doing some interesting things. But real quick, just give us the quick kind of overview elevator pitch. What is UMI?
Sure. Well, UMI is our approach to home automation, and we look at it from a holistic approach. We really wanted to design something that we wanted in our homes, and we saw that previously the problem with many of the smart home systems that were on the market to date were engineers designing something really for engineers or for really technically capable people. Where the big void is for us is that end consumer, as you talked about, that sort of direct-to-consumer market, and being able to make that approachable and attainable for them. So we wanted to develop a system that would, in essence, be something they'd be interested in.
Sure. And it's a sharp-looking line of products. I think there's a lot interesting about it. One of the main things I want to touch on, though, is two choices. And first, you guys actually made the decision to manufacture your own touch panel. It's got some tactile hard buttons on the side of it. It's a very nice-looking panel. I'm sure that there was a lot of challenges associated with that. What made you guys compelled to kind of take that challenge on?
That's right. Well, there's conventional wisdom to smart home for a lot of people, which is just build an app for it and control smart home. That's great when you're outside of the house, but we did not think that the smartphone was the answer to smart home. In fact, we think that when you start talking about a home ecosystem and you're inside of the home, having a dedicated control that actually had the sort of the bandwidth in terms of availability to very easily access the things you want to control was paramount.
Yep.
And a smartphone doesn't lend to that at all. So we developed something that would have a large interface. So we have a 7-inch touchscreen, but you touched on the tactile buttons. The reason those are there is because we actually integrate home entertainment as part of our system.
Yeah.
So, that's really important, because when you start talking about home automation, home control, well, one of the most important things is home entertainment, television, AV, home theater. And we feel like that's been left out of the equation, and it shouldn't be. That's what I love to do when I go home. Yeah. So I don't go home and play with my lights for 30 minutes. I watch a program.
You're preaching to the choir here. Yeah.
Right? So we wanted that in our system, and we wanted something that was very high-end, very elegant, felt really nice, but at the end of the day, it was approachable in terms of price point as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, I think it's a nice design, and wish you the best of luck with that, that particular part of the endeavor. The other thing that you touched on there that I wanted to get your thoughts on is your decision as a company to dive into the world of doing AV control. It's not something we see a lot in that startup end of the market, and I think it's a commendable choice, and I'd like you to just give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, like I said, I think that, quite frankly, it's been long overlooked. I mean, obviously, the really high-end stuff, they all can do it, right? They've been thinking about it for years, but most people don't have 10, 20 grand to drop on a system that can do automation and entertainment in one, like AV control. There's no reason in our mind why that couldn't have been incorporated, and should be incorporated into more of a mid-market system. So that's what we deliver with UMI. So we have IR blasters right in our UMI Touch, so it can control your legacy equipment, and our touch panel controller can actually function as a whole house remote, not only for your home automation, obviously, but for your AV and home theater as well.
Yeah, well, I love your quote there. The smartphone isn't the answer to the smart home. I may have to steal that.
No, please do. As long as you attribute it to us in some way, I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for a few minutes of your time, and good luck with the rest of the show.
Right on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we've covered these guys on the show before. I recognize that touchscreen kind of back when they were launching this, and this is really cool. It's a big chunk to big thing. AV control is a big thing to bite off, to try and chew, and it looks like they're going all in on it. So I think this is a pretty complete product, and it's a do-it-yourself product. So
yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. I have no problem with stuff like this coming out.
Oh, not at all. Yeah, and I told them I thought it was a commendable decision for them to do that, and I certainly wish them the best. I'd like to see more companies kind of operating in that sphere of the market really take on that challenge, and I, again, commend them for doing that, and thought it was an interesting product. Sharp looking, nice industrial design, seemed like good guys there that really had the right approach and mentality to get into this business. And so thought it was an interesting product and definitely one worth giving a quick nod to here on the show. I know that we're kind of getting up against our time. We like to keep these shows right around an hour, and we've still got some ground to cover here. I want to talk about video a little bit. It's a topic we've alluded to here. Again, this episode, a little bit on the last show with HDMI and HDCP 2.2 and this evolving landscape. 4K is a big part of that equation. We've talked about extensively, but one of the things that I really was going into the show kind of looking forward to seeing was a little bit more talk about HDR. And I think that, we talk a lot about extra pixels when we get into 4K. That may or may not be a significant change to your viewing experience. It depends on the size of your TV. It depends on how far you sit from the TV. But HDR is really a cool technology. And I'm happy to say that a lot of vendors were talking about it. Sony in particular had a display up, kind of a side-by-side TV showing side-by-side TVs showing the same content, one in standard dynamic range and one in high dynamic range, and very effective demo. Makes a huge difference on the viewing experience, and really a technology that me personally, I'm very excited about and happy to see more people, kind of paying attention to it.
Yeah, me too. That's definitely what I think is going to be the future of what comes out of video. 4K is one of those marketing things right now, but when people actually, you're going to see a difference with HDR is essentially what's going to happen. You're not really going to tell much of a difference on 4K, especially from the size of screens that we're watching content on and how far we are sitting away. That's going to be less noticeable than getting the HDR. So super excited about that and glad people were showing it off. I got a couple little small things to kind of touch on for video. I'm pretty big into video distribution. I really like it. Atlona is one of those companies that offers products for video distribution, and I think if you're an integrator, you've heard of them. If not, used their products a couple of times. They are launching a here we go, a cloud again. They're launching a what's called Atlona Management Systems. It's coming up in November. That this will be you can download and install it. But you can actually remotely manage your systems. You can actually update firmware, discover and set up devices pretty easily using this software. It sounded pretty exciting to me because it's always a problem, deploying some of these systems, and that really stood out to me. Is like, okay, all their products you could use this software and figure it really quickly.
Yeah.
Anything to make the install time less is good, especially on systems that can be quite expensive.
Yeah, no, it's a great story. It's actually one that I missed at CEDIA, and I'm glad you pointed it out. And I think it's interesting. Atlona is a good company. I've had good experience in the past working with their products, and I think this was a smart move.
Yeah, definitely. I also saw probably one of the coolest products I saw pop up on Twitter or somewhere. I'm not even sure where I saw it, but it's this product called Mirror View. And I was showing the video before the podcast so we could take a look at it. Yeah,
you showed me this, and I'll be honest, but I didn't hear of this or catch it at all until about 5 minutes before we hit record here tonight. And I think it's an interesting looking product. I'll let you kind of tell our listeners about it.
Well, it's video distribution over IP. So if you're familiar with things like systems like Just Add Power, and there are actually a couple other ones out there that are running video over IP. I can't remember, but there are a couple of other ones out there running video over IP. This is a similar system, and it's called Mirror View, and it leads me to believe that Mira, M-I-R-A, is kind of like that. There's like a Miracast or a Chromecast. I think it's the same technology that Google
I
developed.
believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. They're saying this is an affordable video distribution system. It's really cool because the little encoder decoder boxes have both. Well, they have three methods of distributing the system around the house. They have Ethernet, which most newer houses may have the opportunity to use. Coax, which most older homes have. Like you could use, I'm sure it's using Mocha or something like that. Or you can go Wi-Fi and use probably the worst of those three technologies, and especially for streaming video. But what this does is it encodes it on one side. So at your sources, you can put all your sources somewhere in the house. It doesn't have to be next to your TV. And then you put a little decoder box behind your TV. Now, the coolest thing I saw that these guys do is that you can switch sources right on the box. So they have like IR commands, they had Control 4 integration, and it pops up an on-screen menu, like an overlay over the top of the video. And we'll put a link to this video that I'm talking about in the show notes. This looks really cool. And if it is affordable, there's no pricing available on their website. And I wasn't there at the show to talk to these guys, but I'm definitely going to reach out and see how much this thing runs, because for video distribution, I mean, this is the way to go, I think. It's flexible, it's manageable, it's scalable. You aren't stuck buying like a traditional HDMI matrix where you have like fixed 4 inputs and fixed 4 outputs. You could have 3 inputs and 20 TVs, and these types of systems would work. So I'm excited about this. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's an interesting looking product, and like we were talking about it just before the show, and one that I'd want to kick the tires on pretty extensively. Before rolling that out into a client's house. Always got to be a little skeptical when it comes to things like video distribution. It's already tough enough to do when you're dealing with the highest end, most expensive hardware out there. You still have issues, and so it can be a difficult landscape to navigate. But innovative product. Thought it was really interesting. Definitely worth a look, and curious to see what these guys can do.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about some super high-end audio video products. One of the things that was kind of at the show and kind of not, I think they were demoing it. Some of these companies, they demo things in like ballrooms that are in hotels close to CEDIA. Mm-hmm. I think that's what these guys did with what's called the Cinema Frame. And this comes from a company called Milson, who is a major player up in the west side of Canada, like Vancouver market maybe. I can't really remember where they're out of, but I've seen he's actually on the board of directors at CEDIA, I believe. I've seen him speak a couple of times. Very interesting company that he runs, but he does a lot of high rise, and this is one of the products that they developed in house to make installs on high rises or MDU possible. It's what they call a cinema frame, and it's a completely concealed home entertainment system. It's kind of hard to describe. If you go to the show notes and click the link in the website like puts it together for you, so you can see how it kind of all goes together.
Yeah, you almost got to watch the video on this one. I agree.
Yeah. Picture a TV hung on a decorative fabric background, kind of like a frame that goes around it, and that decorative frame actually conceals all the speakers for the entire system. You can run an entire 7.2 surround sound off of this thing. It's got a built-in 4K receiver with all the fancy encoding, decoding, sets up over HTTP. Like, you have a web server that you go to set this thing up. It integrates with all the major control brands. These guys are integrators, so they want the ultimate. They have made the ultimate integration custom product, and I think it really shows. If you go look at the engineering and design of this thing, it's definitely something that an integrator type person, or a person who's run into problems or in the field, especially around MDU, this is something that they would use.
Yeah.
And that's where this type of product really will excel in. It's very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, not cheap.
It's very expensive, but it's you got to think of it as like, this is your entire theater. So everything in there. I think you could probably see this soaring up there, probably $30,000 to $40,000 by the time everything's said and done. So yeah,
really innovative product though, really cool. Got to go check out the video on that one. That's at HomeTech.fm/85. That'll get you there. And again, that was called the Milson product, and really innovative, really neat product. I definitely I'll take a look at. We don't do a lot of MDU stuff, but certainly a product, again, worth taking a look at and paying a little bit of attention to.
Yeah, and these guys are kind of famous for a shade bracket, believe it or not. But there was so much demand for this shade bracket. It's actually 4 Lutron shades too. That they have been offering it up for sale to dealers as well. So if you're a Lutron dealer, you're in the super high end of the market, you may want to go check this out, because evidently this shade bracket that these guys have developed makes installation of shades like super easy, and then you can balance it out. Like it's got fine tuning adjustments on the bracket. Kind of silly, but evidently there's like super demand for this thing. So I'm not even sure what it looks like, but get in touch with these guys and see what you can get out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one other product we'll move through quick here that we wanted to touch on before we wrap the show up, because it was a topic of conversation, specifically, very cool feature set and well-known company, but the form factor kind of got people's attention, and that was TiVo with the new Bolt, and it was kind of that white, funky shaped box, and I think everybody listening is probably familiar with TiVo and what they do as a company. Without further ado, let's just jump in. I had a quick soundbite here with Renee Kazette at the TiVo booth, and we'll let you kind of get her take on it.
I've got Renee Kazette here from TiVo. Renee, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Are you enjoying the show?
It's great. My first time here.
Awesome.
It's been fabulous.
Awesome. Well, welcome to CEDIA.
Thank you.
And the booth looks great. Definitely,
you.
I've seen quite a crowd here throughout the week. We're kind of winding down the show here today.
Yes.
But I wanted to stop by and say hi, and obviously check out the new box. Everybody's kind of talking about it. So give us kind of the overview.
Bolt, yes. So it's our unified entertainment system, the new Bolt. It is a 4-tuner, faster processor, more memory. It streams 4K and also does some pretty nifty things. So we're looking at quick mode, which allows you to watch your shows 30% faster, plays it back at 1.3 times, allows you to get through a half-hour show in 20 minutes and an hour show in 40. Saves you a lot of time, great for sports shows, great for news. Our other big feature is the skip mode, which allows you to skip full commercial breaks. So what we do is we tag the shows after they're recorded, and when the show segment ends, you're able to press one button and it skips you right back to where the show begins again.
Love it. Yeah.
It doesn't get rid of the commercials. They're still there if you want to watch them, because there's some pretty awesome commercials out there.
Yeah, so they're still there.
It gets you through it a lot quicker.
I think it's safe to say most people will skip them, right? So the other question I wanted to ask you about is just kind of this broader trend of cord cutting and kind of changing habits in consumption of media, and kind of get your thoughts on where TiVo fits into that equation.
TiVo is appealing to all audiences right now. The great thing about this new Bolt is it's both cable card and it's also OTA. So if you're doing over the air instead of your cable, you can still use the Bolt. It also does all your streaming. So it's really meant to have all your content in one place, and that's where we're headed with our products. We see people that are jumping from cable to streaming, and we're hoping actually that our new features like skip mode will bring people back to cable. It'll give them another tool to actually go back to cable and want to watch those shows again.
Yeah.
And a lot of cord cutters, you want to save a little bit of money. Our boxes help you do that and still get the shows that you want.
And the last thing I got to ask you about, and I know you know what's coming, is the design of the box. Everybody's talking about it. It's got kind of that curve to it. And tell us about that.
Well, we're going Bolt. We're going very Bolt with our design. There are some real reasons why we did it. That little arch allows us to vent the box from the bottom, so it allows for that really slick design all the way around. But we think it's going to really make it stand out on your shelf. Yeah. Really stand out on your rack. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll let our integrators in the audience know that Middle Atlantic does have a custom rack shelf that they're showing here for it. It is kind of floating around the booth, so our integrators will be happy to hear that. Definitely. I think the product looks great. It's a sleek little design.
Yeah, we're very excited about it.
Very useful product, so good luck with the rest of the show.
Thank you so much.
It's a cool product. I just don't like the look of it.
Yeah, I know you're not a big fan. It was funny because at the Middle Atlantic booth, they were prominently showing the custom faces that they make for their rack shelves. That was like very prominently shown, which I thought was kind of funny. I'm sure they were doing it kind of with a sense of humor, right? Look what we can do. And so that was prominently displayed as you kind of walked by. They do have the custom face for that, of course, cut. And, I thought in that face, it actually looked kind of neat. And it sort of it stood out, but again, not for everybody. I know the form factor kind of turned some people off. I personally don't mind it, and I think TiVo's a cool product. So one that we wanted to give just a quick nod to here.
Yeah. So many people sent me pictures of that thing from the show floor, just to get to hopefully show me that the Mid Atlantic it can do this. Yeah, I know. I'm not a fan of that type of thing. And if they had made it straight, they probably could have fit, into one U rack space rather than two. Just saying.
Yeah.
So one other cool product I did see that I thought was pretty cool. There's everybody comes. In fact, today I had a conversation with someone about putting a mirror TV in a bathroom. Everybody wants these things, and then they see the price tag and they don't want them anymore. And they're so prominently featured on like home improvement shows that I was getting like 10 calls a month at one point in time for people calling in asking about, can I get a mirror TV? And I just want to put a mirror TV up. And then when they find out it's going to cost them like twice as much as the TV that goes behind it costs, they turn it down. Yeah. So one of the cool products I saw was Electric Mirror. They're a company. They do the bathroom mirror TVs. They do the living room mirror TVs, but they have a medicine cabinet now. And I thought this was really cool because in the medicine cabinet, like if you open it up inside, there's a GCFI outlet in there where you can plug stuff into. But the door is a little bit thicker, but when you close it, that's where the TV is built into. So it's like an all-in-one unit. I thought that was genius.
Yeah.
Like if you have a medicine cabinet, want a TV, there you go.
Hey, smart product.
Yep.
Not one that I had the chance to look at, but again, these are kind of wanted to wrap the show up with some quick nods to products that maybe we didn't get a ton of time to spend on, or even like we alluded to here, a few products that Seth was able to catch wind of, through social media or what have you that I didn't have the chance to see. So, ton of ground to cover. Obviously, we didn't even begin to scratch the surface of CEDIA. Really, it's such a huge show, and there's so much going on that it's just impossible to get to it all. But if you're listening, thanks for sticking it out. I know this was kind of a long episode. Really hope that you enjoyed it, getting our take on CEDIA. I thought it was another great show. Really had a good time going out there. Seth, missed you. Wish that you would have been there, and hoping that you'll have the opportunity to get out there next year and look forward to doing another one of these big wrap ups a year from now. Time flies, and it'll be here before you know it.
Absolutely. This one crept up on me so quickly. But yep, there's always next year. So hopefully I'll be there and we can check all this stuff out on the show floor and do it all over again next year.
Yeah.
That wraps up part 2. We didn't have to go to a part 3, luckily.
We almost did. This was a long episode, but again, a lot of ground to cover. Really, if you're listening still, appreciate you tuning in and getting our take on CEDIA. Another great show. Really look forward to doing another one next year. If you're interested in checking out the show notes, once again, those are at HomeTech.fm/85. We do like to mention that HomeTech is a proud member of the Technology.fm family of podcasts that can, as the name implies, be found at Technology.fm. A lot of great shows there. If you're into this one, I'm sure you'll find some stuff there that you like as well. And one other thing that we want to mention is that extend a special thank you to the patrons of our show. If you're not familiar with Patreon, we have a page. It's a mechanism where our listeners who get value out of the show can support us, and you can do that for as little as $1 a month. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can do that at HomeTech.fm/support. And once again, thank you so much for tuning in.
Absolutely. Well, CEDIA Part 2. Let's wrap it up. I'll see you next year.
All right, Seth. Have a good one. We'll talk soon.
Yep. Have a good one.